I once met a man who had everything: a six-figure salary, a sea-facing apartment, a curated, effortless smile that made others believe he had it all figured out. But every night, he stared at the ceiling and whispered the question we all carry, but dare not ask aloud. Why am I still not happy? This story isn't just about him. It's about me. It's about you. It's about the silent suffering of modern life, the kind that wears a smile in meetings and bleeds in solitude. And it's about a lesson from Krishna that we've all forgotten, a truth that feels like a threat in today's world. A two-word phrase: let go. His name was Rohan, 32. He was the product head at a fintech startup in Bangalore. The kind of man who ran marathons on Sundays, investor calls on Mondays, and from himself the rest of the week. He checked every box society told him to chase: the title, the body, the girl, the apartment, the LinkedIn headline that made his parents proud. But behind his eyes, there was always a quiet panic, like a man dancing fast enough to not hear the voice inside him asking, "What is all this for?" However, sadly, it all came undone for him on a rainy Wednesday. He missed a flight, lost a pitch. His manager sent him a voice note that ended with, "I expected better." That evening, he sat frozen in his car, staring into nothing. The kind of stillness that isn't peace but exhaustion dressed as silence. And that's when I heard from him. Not in person, but through a midnight message on Innerverse. You said in episode 1 that overthinking is a cage. In my case, I think I've handcuffed myself to my goals. I read his message 3 times, and then I asked just one question. Who are you if everything you're trying to control slipped through your fingers tomorrow? He replied after a long pause, I don't know. I've never let go of anything long enough to find out. I told him what Krishna once told a warrior who was paralyzed by doubt. Tyaktva karma phala sangam nitya tripto nirashraya. Karmani abhipravrato pinaiva kinchit karoti sa. Bhagavad Gita 4.20. One who has let go of attachment to the fruits of action, who is ever content and dependent on nothing, though fully engaged in action, does not truly act. We think peace lies in achievement. But Krishna points to something more radical. A peace that has nothing to prove, nothing to control, nothing to fear losing. Letting go doesn't mean becoming passive. It means becoming invincible. When you stop clinging to the outcome, you stop being owned by your efforts, and suddenly everything becomes lighter. Over the next few weeks, Rohan didn't disappear. He didn't resign. He didn't move to the Himalayas. Instead, he did something harder. He stayed, but stopped clinging. He still worked, still showed up, still strived. But the fear in his eyes began to fade. Because his worth was no longer tied to how many likes he got, how impressed his boss was, or how fast he climbed an invisible ladder. He had started to taste freedom, not from the world, but from the self that constantly needed validation. Krishna never told Arjuna to abandon the battlefield. He told him to fight, without being bound by the fruits of that fight. You see, the opposite of desire isn't detachment, it's presence. True letting go isn't giving up, it's showing up without fear. In the stillness, Rohan met someone he hadn't seen in years. Himself. Not the achiever, not the brand, not the busy machine. But the quiet watcher. The one who was always there, even before the degrees, titles, heartbreaks, and ambitions. That's who you are, not the doing, but the being. Letting go doesn't make you less ambitious. It makes your ambition clean. It removes the anxiety from your goals, the desperation from your relationships, the hunger from your happiness. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you don't crumble when things don't go your way. Most people will never feel truly free, not because they're in chains, but because they're clutching too tightly to what they think they need. To be loved, to be admired, to be enough. But the Gita reminds us, you are already enough. What you let go of reveals what was never truly yours to begin with. So here's what I told Rohan. And here's what I tell you now. You don't need to leave your job, your family, or your life to find peace. You just need to stop worshipping the illusion that you can control what was never yours. Let go of being the doer. Be the witness. Detach from the fruit, and you'll finally taste the tree. Let go, or be dragged. Not a Gita verse, but it might as well be. Because clinging is the root of suffering, and surrender is not the end, it's the beginning.
Thanks for listening to this episode on Why You'll Never Be Happy Until You Let Go, Krishna's Forgotten Lesson. Brought to you by Innerverse India, Journey Within, Awaken Beyond, guided by timeless knowledge.